Everyone, live from Unleash This Light. It's gonna just put a whole bunch of glare on my eyeballs the whole time, everybody. So sorry. And my name is Jamie, and I'm calling you from a hotel room in Las Vegas. And that's what I'm going to be. I'm going to be Jamie for the rest of the show because none of this system loves to work for me, everybody. You know this. And I'm without my partner this morning, missing Jackie as she is on her travels as well and just unable to connect with us. So we send her love and miss her and hope to see her soon. I am legitimately from, I don't know that I can just, what it's like in a hotel room. You know what it's like. Um, I am furiously trying to make sure all of my settings are good. And so hopefully, yes, you all can hear me. Thank you so much. Um, I am here at the Mirage because across the street is a conference called Unleash being held at Caesars Forum. And um, uh, the conference itself really is a focus on HR technology. So if you're not familiar with Unleash, absolutely get on um, the internet and do all the search. It's Unleash America. There's a conference as well in Paris that's usually held in the fall. So if you'd rather do some technology shopping in the fall in Paris, that sounds pretty nice, doesn't it? So you certainly can sign up and be a part of that. Um, Jackie and I, my gosh, off and on. I would say I'm newer to Unleash as far as coming to the conference. Um, I tend to lean a bit into uh, uh, oh my gosh, my phone wants to connect to everything because I'm on this headset and it's technologically challenging more 7:09 in the morning after an evening of happy hours and parties with all of the tech vendors. And so I am apologetic for all of the snafus we've had. Um, I see Jamie changed my name. That's pretty funny. Jamie, stop stalking me. This is from one of the parties last night that I had the privilege of going to, which is a great look for me. Very good luck. Uh, gosh, my eyes are rough this morning, everybody. So sorry. The voice is a little rough this morning as well. So um, we've got, and if, by the way, those of you who are here, who said you are likely going to join, um, and I don't believe you. I don't believe that you're going to join for a bit this morning because it was late. So yeah, lots of parties last night, and lots of swag and such as well. I got to give you a look at this thing. Look at this thing, right? I I yeah, Jamie, I don't need that. I know you're trying to help me. We can just get rid of that. I know you want to show all this stuff. Thanks, buddy. Um, I hate when Jackie does that, actually, because it just makes us minuscule to see, and my eyeballs, I just don't see anything. I just can't. It's all like font point 4, and I can't see anything. Anyway, this is called Ferretly, and they were giving these bad boys out. I have zero idea what ferretly does. So I'm sorry to say that ferretly, but at least I'm giving you some props and everybody can kind of look that up. Oh, I gotta mirror this bad boy so you all can see um uh better, right? So this way this way you can see it clearly. Ferretly. Super nice. And I just never seen a ferret as the spokesperson for something. And then there is this assessment company called Maki, and they were giving out Tony's chocolate. And I was with Josh Rock, and Josh was like all about Tony's chocolate. I'd never heard of Tony's before, and it um, is sea salt caramel thick chocolate bar. Like it's almost like a Wonka bar, is what it really feels like. I doubt there's a gold ticket in it because I'm not that lucky in Las Vegas. Come on now, it's not going to happen. And But obviously, some of the other larger tech companies are here as well. And some of what we got to go around and do last night was really in connection to some of these tech companies. And so I know Greenhouse, which on my end of the world is a fun partner, and was so glad that we get to do some stuff together. And so they were one of the hosts for happy hour at Bugsy's. I'm gonna forget these names, y'all. Bugsy's and something or other in the Flamingo. And then there was a party that Plum put together over at the Neon Museum. And then I got these at a really sweet, smaller party at the top of the Cosmopolitan. Um, and There were other happy hours around. I think Atlas had a dinner, and Fountain had a dinner, and Fountain did dinner and a show, y'all. They took people to Chris Angel. So if you got to be a part of those things, great job. Oh yeah, here's Atlas. Atlas had some soiree last night as well. This, the chapstick, holy cow, absolutely necessary um, in Vegas because my whole face, everything just dries out immediately. And like my equilibrium winds up being off. Look, y'all, I like sliced my head open in the weight room 2 days ago because I dropped my phone and I went to reach for it and I slammed my head into the actual machine. So it was like super sexy. Thankfully, there was like only two other people in the weight room. I don't know that they noticed until I started holding things to my head because of all the blood that was gushing. And if you've ever had a cut on your head, you know it bleeds a lot. It bleeds a lot, even though it didn't necessarily hurt as much. Just looks like I was in some sort of battle. Um, anyway, with some of the tech that's here, a couple things to really just point out in our live from Unleash abridged show this morning. One of the things is uh, shocking. I know you're all going to be shocked. AI, right? Lots of talk of AI, and it. I was floored as I bring up this profile for you. I was floored because um, holy cow, are we doing a whole lot with AI that uh, probably will be more and more difficult for you to tell that it's AI. So we had one of the professors oh, by the way, so sorry. I forgot to do this at the beginning. Happy 75th birthday, Billy Joel. My favorite in the entire world. For those that know, you know, my favorite in the entire world, Billy Joel. Um, uh, Anyway, this professor, why can't I think of his name? This professor from Wharton from Penn was there. He had Professor Malik, Mollick, I think. Um, he recorded himself, video and audio, right? Recorded himself 30 seconds, just saying some stuff. Within a minute, um, there were two other 30-second videos, same setup, sitting just like this. Um, uh, the words, I guess, were the same as what he had said in English. It In one version, it came out, I think, Italian or Spanish, and so out of his mouth on video and audio, totally looked like it was that. Even AI was changing the contortion of his mouth for pronunciation for the words that were being said in that language. And then the second one was in Hindi, same thing. I, I mean, you could not not think he was actually saying it. It wasn't that, in the last 6 months, I know you've probably seen some where it's like, I could kind of tell you their mouth is off a little. You you heard gasps in the audience as people were listening and watching this because of how flawless it was and how much if they received this. And his response was, we're now at a place where you really can't believe anything you see unless someone is physically standing in front of you. He's like, that's where we are. It's not kind of where we are, it's where we are. And so that was fascinating to watch. And then he unpacked how AI really drives a lot of, um, and for him, it was an avenue for um, really ending a contract with an outsourced marketing firm that he was using for some work, and only has them handling some SEO work, because everything else he can sort of plug right into a couple of different AI related platforms, ChatGPT 4.0. He was talking about a couple of others as well. And I'm not, by the way, you follow him on Twitter. He publishes a whole bunch of stuff. He I'm gonna say his full name because it's absolutely gonna bother me if I don't say his full name, and I know it's Malik, but um, Ethan, yes, Ethan Malik. I'm so good, Ethan Malik, and so everything I'm sharing, like, he's put out there, so I'm not giving away any of his stuff. Again, he is a professor at Wharton, and obviously then the other parts that we were leaning into is he's showing us how he's just throwing things into these systems. I mean, literally, y'all, saying things to the system like, write up a performance review for Jim Smith, um, who's a pretty good performer. We like having him here, and he's late sometimes. And please add SMART goals and do it good. That's literally what he wrote. Do it good. And this thing created an entire performance review for Jim Smith. And then Professor Malik, for that one or one of the others, just wrote back in to the system and said, nah, make it better, or try again. And like, it's doing it. And it's real time, y'all. This wasn't prepared in advance. He was doing it real time while he's talking to us about the advent of AI in these various areas, because how it affects work is absolutely going to be um, um, impactful to what we do in our organizations. And so we may need less staff. Ugh, nobody wants to hear that, right? But maybe we do, because we say we don't have enough people. And also talked about the idea of how work gets done, right? So being able to sort of front load things into AI, and let it do its job. And what he challenged us to think about in that context was, how would you treat an independent contractor? And he talked about that marketing piece that I mentioned a minute or two ago. How do I treat that marketing independent contractor? Well, I say to them, here's what has to get done, um, and here's when it needs to get done, and get it done. And he said, now I'm not saying it to a person who's a contractor. I'm really kind of treating, ChatGPT or whatever, Google's platform or whatever the platforms are, um, and uh, give that thing direction the same way that I would this 1099 contractor that I have or used to have. And uh, I thought that was really interesting to think about it as, I don't want to think about tech taking over the world, though it is. But I think about this tech platform instead as your partner, like your outsourced resource. And as someone who owns and runs an HR consulting firm, I guess I kind of appreciate that, because I'm like, well, I'm kind of doing that in the sense of a company coming and saying, hey, John, can your team help support these tactical pieces that we need, and here's when we need it done, or can your team help with our HR tech selection and change strategy and implementation pieces and all that? Can your team come in and help us with this merger that we're doing and do an org design with us because we want to, bring cohesion to. Okay, I'm given direction, input, and timelines. That's kind of what you're putting into these AI systems, and it's giving you the output that's being asked for. It's not to say you don't review it and just set it free in the world, but Professor Malik at one point said, "Look, this work is A minus work, A minus work." He said, "I'm not going to say it's A plus, but I'm also going to say it's a B. It's not a B. It's A minus work." And so, I mean, we would love to have some staff and contractor support that are instantly. That would be amazing. So why not look at these tools as being partners in that way? I mean, he talked about lots of research, by the way. They did a study on usage of a medical AI-based uh, platform whose name is escapes me, but they did studies on doctors alone doing the work, doctors being supported by this AI platform, and then just the AI platform itself. Now, this is crazy. The doctors performing just themselves were the lowest scoring. Doctors who used the AI support were in the middle. When the AI support was left on its own, it scored the best in the medical response work that had to be done. So, the machine is better even than the doctor, even when the doctor uses the machine. So we really have some questions about talent and how we're using talent, how we're training talent and building it up. And so at Unleash, we're diving into a number of these conversations. The expo floor for this one is really small enough to have some of those conversations. I don't want to say it's a small floor, but it's smaller. So some of you who may be used to or have visited a SHRM National Conference, no. Or even HR Tech in the fall, that conference, no, it's smaller than that. Maybe on par with some state SHRM conferences, if you're kind of a robust state, probably on par with that. But keep in mind, it's not a mix of different kinds of vendors and partners. It's all tech related here. So that that walking up and down, you're integrating and with solutions space. Again, really fascinating. I recommend, right, coming and checking this out. Even if for those of you, some of you have like an annual budget, you can pick one conference. Your company says we'll support you for your professional development with one and that sort of thing. Mix it up, right? You're used to doing one. There are two people I ran into yesterday who said, "Year I just," and instead I put the money towards Unleash because I have some different people to talk to than I may normally see it wherever we go. That sort of thing is um, uh, reasonable. You should mix it up because you tend to hear from different voices. The other thing that's really cool about Unleash and it ends today, by the way, so there's another half day of it today. Um, um, is the case study conversations. So some really helpful panels with a particular platform, and then 2 to 3 of their clients or people who can speak to it from a standpoint, and just talking about the results to practice, talking about what issues it was solving for. And I love those conversations because I think sometimes in tech selection, we can come off the rails a little bit in, like, well, I'm looking for an applicant tracking system because what we have stinks. Okay, totally reasonable. And then you get into looking at some of them, you're like, oh, look what else has this feature. This has that, and you initially, needed. I'm not saying it's a bad add-on. It wasn't what you initially needed, and we get distracted by it. It was good for the practitioners to say, no, 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 we have eyes on what it is that we were solving for, because it was easy to get distracted. Some other things that this platform can do. I There was a session hosted by Greenhouse, and John Stoss, one of us, did a great job, and because he was sharing research, right? They're only 20-minute sessions, by the way, and most of them, and he shared research that Greenhouse had put together, really from their own client base, about employers ghosting candidates. They can see that the workflow basically stopped. They can see how often even the rejection emails were going out, and they said they're down in terms of it's getting better, but we're still trending at about 31% of the time the rejection email is not going out to a candidate who's not being considered. Because they're not using the system correctly, or um, they just don't have it marked correctly in order for those triggers to happen. And so we're close to a third of the time that's still occurring. Um, uh, and so he was just sharing all of these facts and figures. We're trending about 20% of the time. I believe that the job that's posted isn't a real job, and never does anything with anybody who applies. And the categorization for it is, it was never a real job. It's not taken down. It's still up. Those kinds, and it's roughly about 20%. And you're like, wait, what? How can that be happening so often? Some of it is because, and I've heard this from recruiters as well in the past. Like we having a pool of, we build like our own database for specific things that may come up later. And so if we're just not getting enough of a flow of applications or resumes naturally, maybe that's a reason why you post a job and just sort of help till the ground to have various resumes come through that may not have ever been considered for this role, but could be great fits for something else that may open down the road, right? So you've got those things that um, are still at play. And now you have a system like Greenhouse who is tracking those things, and able to give data to say, um, maybe we ought to take a look at some of these metrics within your organization to see how you're doing. What's your scorecard? And I don't know how it is for the rest of you, and I'd love for you to throw it in your chat. Oh, hey, Joe. By the way, Joe, I used your name in vain yesterday, so you may already know that, because you probably got messaged either via email or LinkedIn. And sorry, yeah, yeah. Hey, Greg and Stephen. Oh man, awesome. Candace, thank you all. But those of you who are here and listening, you may have metrics that you're tracking as far as your, let's say, your recruitment strategy is concerned. Is it time to fill, right? Time to hire? Is it um, how many, right, are at the top of funnel before you get to selection? What are those percentages or metrics you're using? Feel free to throw them in the chat, and we start thinking about, are those the right metrics, A, for us to pay attention to, and then B, how could technology really sort of help automate those things so that I could just have a dashboard view of how things are going and activate accordingly once that happens, right? Activate accordingly. Um, I dare say that some organizations care about metrics that don't matter a ton. I know, if you've listened to Tim Sackett, if you're familiar with Tim and some others, he's always giving, time to hire a bunch of grief, because it is There's so many factors that contribute to it. To try to just say every job should take, 31 days to fill, and that's it. How does that become sort of the standard? And so part of the way I think that we can do this healthily, and again, coming back to what's being talked about here, is not just using metrics to report on what's happening, but also using metrics to influence moving forward. So if I can see historical data, do I look at that historical data as giving me insight into how we ought to operate moving forward? I don't just want a report card. I do want that, but not just a report card. I also want there to be an influence to a roadmap, and that roadmap can easily be handled in part by automation. And so these data points, these metrics, your balanced scorecard considerations for those of you that may use something like that, um, that's going to help you with that road mapping moving forward. I think the way in which some of the platforms as well are trying to lean into some areas of consideration is really interesting this year. So there are some that are assessment oriented, that are trying to make room for those that are, I'll say, in skill based hourly roles. So think about things like mechanics, or certain technologists, um, medical. It's an hourly job, but it is a very specialized hourly job. And so, how do you provide specific assessment that isn't just out of the box? Tell me your disc profile. That's my response to that, right? You got the all in the family raspberry. Not because I don't care about disc, I get it. But I think disc without context is a party game. Disc or Myers-Briggs without context is a party game. It's an icebreaker game. And that's fine if that's what it's being used for. But most times in organizations, you're trying to use those things to help with communication strategies, with team building, but also the ways in which um, feedback is to be delivered, the ways in which it may be delivered to you from that person, and being prepared and ready for that. So there should be some context to it. So again, there's platforms now that are trying to integrate or handle some of that. There's also some push towards more EOR type opportunities, and I think you're seeing that more with companies that are looking to US based companies that are wanting to get into other countries and just don't, they want to get into other countries, but they don't want to be liable or responsible for the manner with which other countries require work to be done and payment to be made and XYZ. And so they engage perhaps with an employer of record, and there were a few here at Unleash to establish, right, a support structure. Atlas does as one of them, right? So uh, specific area of solving for a problem, conversations happening here about that. And then there's as far as second chance is concerned, right? And so one of the interesting things that I noticed yesterday, in particular, were some of the personnel that worked at convention center. There was one who was cleaning up, and there were 3 people talking about second chance hiring, and he was slowly cleaning up so that he could lean in. And there were a couple of other indicators for me as far as tattoos, types of tattoos, that because I'm a thug from Philly, so these things are, and that gives me an indicator that he spent some time incarcerated. And um, I was loving the fact that he was listening in and wanting to understand how we as practitioners are thinking now about what we might do to handle that population of people, and how technology help you create either candidate pools or upskilling, reskilling, training type pools through particular platforms to help some people go from bad choice or two or three that may have been made before, and then trying to change their life around, but needing some trajectory of reskilling, upskilling, again, training to get into a position to do that beyond just come to the States training on Excel. Look, y'all, take an Excel training. Everybody ought to take an Excel training. Once you get VLOOKUPs down, I mean, I know a few people who just any excuse to do a VLOOKUP, they are happy to put an Excel spreadsheet together. Not me, but I know these people. And I think that having even technology that can be designed and help speak to a population of people, where second chance has to be some of what we consider, is smart, is really smart. And I know that some of you might be shaking your head for a couple of different reasons, right? We're a federal contractor and we can't do X, Y, and Z. Okay, I get that. Even though the federal government wants to give you, worker opportunity tax credit for hiring people, and GFN might be a heavier percentage of population of those that have spent either time in prison or somehow been in the system. But the federal government says, no, not here. We'll just give you a tax credit to do it where you are, but don't go here. That's a whole other episode that I want Jackie to be here for. And but for those of us with specific types of industries where having a second chance person could really make sense, and really be needed, right, from a cultural standpoint. Lots of case studies on that. And again, I think technology is starting to look at it and say, okay, there's enough data in the bank. Now, what do we do with that to help sort of support that? And so technology comes in to try to support the need that's being discussed. So a lot of product conversation in that regard. And as always, there is a startup area, and where these ideas are coming together. And I had the chance to talk to Elavora yesterday. My gosh, I hope I'm saying these names right. And they, for instance, are doing application, right? So a candidate applies for a job, and then the link takes them to the application and the opportunity to answer some initial screening questions, audio-based only screening questions, and how that gets done, right? And then can come back into your ATS if the scorecards and the review of the scorecards by a recruiter help to move them forward as a result of answering some of these initial questions. And just even if it's a piece of the puzzle, right? These companies are trying to focus on a segment of what the process involves or should involve, and the problem it may be trying to solve with that, and areas of bias that they're trying to overcome as a result of putting some of solving for the problem that they're putting the tech in place for. Like these incubator areas, like you just want to go and say, hi, I'm John. Can you tell me what problem you're trying to solve? Yes, I can. Right. And then you just kind of go into everything. Super cool. Love seeing these startups trying to get their footing under them. Flocky's here, and somewhere I have my little origami Swan from Flockity. And again, there are some real fun organizations that are here as well, just again trying to make their move in the market, and some are making it pretty quickly. So I'd keep up with some of the tech reporting that's here. Unleash will continue to do some things. So while the event in America is these couple of days, there's content all year long. So totally look at that. You just will miss out on this stuff. You just miss out on the ferrets from Ferretly. You're going to miss out on that kind of stuff when you don't come in person. And maybe some of you are like, I'm okay. I don't need a ferret. It's funny, Robin Schooling's here with me, right? So we're both here from representing Humoriso, and we had brunch the other morning, like when we both just kind of getting here to get going for the conference, and so grabbing brunch before we head over. And This coffee mug at where I'm staying at the Mirage, this coffee mug from this place, the Pantry. I was like, I kind of love this mug because you all know I have a mug thing. I've got a few different things, but they're weird, right? I've got a refrigerator thing. I just feel some sort of way about refrigerators. I'm very picky about the kind of refrigerator I like and I want. I don't know why. I really have nothing to sort of point to specifically as to why I feel this way, but I do. And coffee mugs is like another little like minor kind of obsession. And so I'm like, I want this mug. And so immediately, I'm like, I got to stick it in my bag. Oh, I don't have a bag. Oh, Robin, you have a bag. Stick this in your bag, right? We didn't take any mug. Please, no one called security. We didn't do it. Honest, by the end of eating, we were chatting so much, I just forgot about it anyway. But the reality of, as Robin and I were walking and realizing we were like, we didn't think about the mug. She said, honestly, it's all tracked. And so when they come and try to clear plates, they have your room number already because I paid that way. They'll just tack on the cost of the mug to there's nothing permissive that has to happen with stuff like that. And it can easily be attached and, all of a sudden it's just a line item on your bill that they pop into the computer. And I thought, yeah, really, it's like all around us, right? Whether it's workflows or just the way in which we exist. I mean, more stores, um, uh, Amazon related stores and a couple of others where it's like, look, we don't have anybody attending the store. Just come in. If you have your Amazon account open, as you come in, we scan you to know that you're allowed. And then everything you grab as you walk out, we're doing multiple scans of all of what you have. And we're just catching all the UPC symbols and you're just going to be charged. You don't have to stop, even just walk right out normal. We're going to get it all. So it's, all of this technology is influencing even how we exist in our day to day. As I shared at the beginning, this is first of all, it's a solo version of But First Coffee. Jackie sends her love, and as I shared, she is out and about. Not that I'm not out and about, but I could make 7 a.m. work this morning because I'm a trooper. Also because I don't sleep. I just don't sleep. So I think last night was 3.5. Yeah, like 3.5 hours. And I'll be fine. I'll be fine all day. Please don't stress about me. And so I was like, yeah. I want to go on, at least do a bit of an update because I knew there was going to be some stuff. And I'm heading back over to the floor for Unleash. And actually, this conference today is being closed out by Irvin Magic Johnson himself. So Magic, for those of you that don't know, is a serial entrepreneur and has his hands in lots of things, and so he's going to kind of share some of that, and also I think talk about the way in which he's tried to invest in and leverage technology as well. So I might have some chat pieces that I'll throw in here after the fact to kind of just bring you up to date. But really appreciate you taking the 45 minutes to hang out with me this morning while I'm here in Las Vegas. Look for next week's info coming out soon about next Thursday's But First Coffee. Thank y'all so much. Make sure before I forget, because another truth that's happened at this conference, lots of people are in transition or about to be in transition. And so they've made a decision to come to an event like this to make sure they deepen some of the connections that they need or may need in the near future. If you are in transition, please don't be shy in our thread here and every week in our chat. Please share what you're looking for. Give a link to your LinkedIn profile so that others here who are able to help and those who will watch later, we will have tons of those who will watch this after the fact because this time just doesn't work for them. So they read the chat as well. Many people say that it's not just watching, they also read everyone's comments. So please don't be shy. Put that in here. Let everybody know what you're looking for along with your link. And hopefully we'll make some connections that way as well. In the meantime, from me and the ferret at Unleash Las Vegas, over at Caesar's Forum. Great to see everybody. Have a great day. And I don't even have coffee. I have an unopened can of Pepsi that I'm not going to open, but I can at least clink it for you. Clink. Bye, y'all.